Episode 240 of the TV Dudes podcast, recorded June 12th, 2019. ATX Television Fest, Season 8. Guys, we're all back in the studio. It has been a while.
Yeah, that's true.
It's been a while since I've been in the studio with you guys. I've been ducking out on you, hiding, laying low, and I missed you guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, the new schedule's kind of throwing me off, too, because it seems like every time we do one of these, it's been like forever since we've seen each other.
Oh, we're used to recording weekly, and now it's bi-weekly. It's a little crazy.
Yeah, and we also have all been pretty busy with trying to get together our shit for the ATX Fest. So, I know, I've been just kind of like relying on you guys to do a lot of the recording here.
Yeah, you were a little focused on our ATX event, which, by the way, spoilers, went great.
Yeah.
Did it?
I think
Yes.
it did, yes.
I don't know.
I've heard some things from myself.
I've been hearing positives. I have not heard negatives from any attendees that went, so I think I'm feeling pretty good.
I'm feeling good.
I think here's the thing. Grant, you and I were both micro-focused on the little things that went wrong, and everybody else was focused on all the macro that went great.
Yeah, it went great.
I think the true test as to how great it went is if this episode does gangbusters, right? First episode after a big event.
No, it's not.
We're not
let's not assume anything about us.
Nope, that's not a test.
What? There are only 3 people who listen to this podcast.
Yeah. No. Following us onto the podcast, I don't think is an indicator of whether people had fun at that event. People had fun at that event, though.
Yeah.
Unrealistic metrics.
Yes.
For anyone listening who's
good
unaware
podcast
of
timing.
what we're discussing, at ATX Television Fest, we hosted a TV theme song karaoke party.
Yes.
For about 130, 140 people.
Something like that.
Yeah.
If I had to guess,
15 tables at 10 chairs each, and the room was full. So somewhere
That's what I was wondering, how many tables, because that's the way to count. So if it was 15.
125 to 150.
Plus Luis Guzman and his entourage.
Yes. So that's 8 people.
Right.
Not to mention the bar outside was packed. I'm claiming those folks myself.
Yeah, we'll take those too.
Yeah. They were just in the bar. It's a karaoke thing. You know,
They
some
can
people
still
at the
hear
bar,
it.
some people by the stage.
Yep.
Sure. Sure. We threw a party for about 1,000 people, if I recall correctly.
Most of
By my
downtown
count.
Austin was... No.
Yeah. 1,000
No.
people,
Balcony,
Luis
that was us
Guzman.
too.
That really was 125 or so people, I think.
Yeah.
So, also taking a step back, if you guys are unfamiliar with what ATX Television Fest is, it is an annual festival here in Austin, Texas, that has been going on since 2011. Is my math right there?
2012.
2012.
It was 8 years, so that doesn't. I thought it was 2012 was the first year. I could be wrong.
It's 2012 or 2011.
Yep.
I don't know how to math this. 8 years. Whatever. And 2012. And we have been
I don't
fortunate.
know what holding up 3 fingers meant to that equation,
I was
Randy.
doing my math.
Like the math in your head was just awesome, though.
They can't see my fingers.
No.
Randy held up 3 wonky-looking fingers. I was like he was doing a curveball
As
or
if
some
it
shit.
proved
He's
it, proved it to us.
he's like, there you go, 2012. Okay, if you say so.
I counted on my fingers like a kindergartner and came up with 8. All right.
I'm trusting you. It's just
Why do you have glue all over you?
That's because I haven't eaten all the paste yet.
Oh, gross. So there's this television fest, and we've been attending it every year since it started, and it's just grown and grown. So, it's really cool. They bring in a whole bunch of people that are actors and producers and writers, and they all come and talk about it.
Beyond that, I mean, not just actors, writers, but like they bring in casting people. They bring in people,
showrunners, and
people who like every aspect of TV gets such. Last year there was a panel on music. If you haven't heard us talk about ATX TV Fest, you haven't listened to the podcast. We've talked about it every year, and always glowing praise. It's such a fun time. If you're a TV fan, and if you're not, I'm confused why you're listening to this podcast. But if you're a TV fan, you should get to Austin for the first week of June for next year's TV Fest. It is always a great time. Totally worth the money. The tickets are fairly cheap for what you get. It's like 4 days of TV camp for grown-ups, which is what they call it. And man, I am always impressed by this fest, and I'm always waiting for that it's gotten too big for its britches, like waiting in line for nothing. The thing you hit at every fest. I only got into one thing. The crowds were so crazy, or this was a big mess and half people dropped out, or all the things you hear from various like film fests or Comic-Con or whatever. And ATX Fest, despite growing every year, has never let me down. It always feels small and intimate and fun in a way that no other festival does.
Well, Randy, you've always had a press badge, so are you even waiting in lines?
You know what, Grant? I was going to leave that part out, but whatever.
Well, something I didn't realize, because this is my first year being anywhere near the festival, is it just me, or is this like the only festival where the females outnumber the males?
Yeah, there's a huge diverse audience because Emily and Caitlin, who are the people who have curated the festival, have... and they talked about this on their podcast. They've had a mission of diversity from day one, and you can see that in the fest. And it's not like it's not something that's going to beat you over the head with it. But when you look, you'll be like, oh, you know what? There's a lot of women and queer and people of color representation here, and that shines through the audience because people see themselves in the panels and everything.
Yeah, thoughtful and fair panels that tackle more than just like what's the coolest pew pew noise in a show. I mean, like they do some really broad stuff. Also, I think most of us are probably used to going to Comic Cons.
Yeah.
As far as a fest about television or a fest about movies or pop culture, most of those in my experience are Comic Cons for me, and that is definitely predominantly male. But it also skewed heavier towards genre, and I love that ATX Fest had the Battlestar reunion.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I mean, has had their nerd genre moments, but they also had the This Is Us panel. They had a Greek reunion this year.
Yeah.
Like it,
It's a big cross-section of TV of stuff that we watch, stuff that we don't, and everybody's going to see something that's their favorite. Every year I discover something new, whether it's like a screening for something new, like the show Undone on Amazon that saw a screening for, or Letterkenny, which it was sort of on my radar, but when I saw it was coming to the show, I made a point to watch it, and now I've fallen completely in love with it. And unless you're wearing a Letterkenny hat, where'd you get that?
I caught it out of the air at the panel.
Nice.
I thought you didn't go to any panels. I
went to two panels.
You curated your own festival.
I did. I went to two panels. I went to the League reunion and I went to Letterkenny.
Wow.
And somebody threw a hat, and it was a really nice touch at the end of my amazing weekend that I just reached my hand up and caught that bitch behind me in the air.
Fucking
like
tall
boss.
people. Randy,
Like a fucking
what's up with
boss.
these tall
Yeah, I
people?
don't know.
They make me sick.
The coasters I caught at the panel can't hit my glass, so. But I still got
And then
it.
walking out, I got a beer. I got a Pupper's beer.
That's great.
That's
from
pretty
the
rad.
moderator.
So folks, we are going to be talking about our overall experience at the fest. And before we do that, I guess it's been a few minutes. We should go ahead and introduce ourselves. I'm Grant.
I'm Randy.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Les.
And we are the TV dudes. So let's go ahead and talk about our experience.
So I think I was the panel guy here. I think I went to the most panels of anybody at the table because I knew Les had the interviews covered. So I went to I did my day one was my sort of like the traditional go to Gus's Fried Chicken, which is a tradition 3 years running. Les, you went with me to that.
Yep, I think I didn't go the first year you went, but I've been 2 years now.
Yeah,
it's a great
2 years in a
tradition.
row.
I like that tradition.
At least 1 year, was it maybe last year? I had like rushed to a panel or an interview or something.
Yeah, that's right. You had to jump up from the table and
Yeah,
go.
I had to bail. But and then the opening night screening, which was Euphoria, which was HBO's new Zendaya feature, which is dark and depressing, like Sharp Objects for teenagers.
Huh.
It's messed up. I'm not sure I'll watch it anymore. When it's done, I'll probably watch the rest of it. Then we went to Geeks Who Drink and did trivia. And we were our team name this year was Forever Unclean. We decided to go with the league reference. And we did pretty well as we were going through it. We were like, we got to the first round of scoring, and were we 3
We
or
were
2?
fourth or something like
we
that.
We were right up we were in the top 5.
Yeah.
And we'd missed a couple questions. We were pretty happy with where we were. We're like, okay, we're contenders for this. And then we did a really good in the second round. By the way, the team was me, Les, Grant, our friend Melissa and her husband Bill, and our friend Mariah,
Right.
who you might know from the Star Trek pod.
Yeah.
And so we had all of permanent record, or a lot of permanent record represented. And I think we acquitted ourselves really well. Mariah came through in the clutch with some reality show stuff we did not know.
And then why didn't we get second place, Randy?
I'm pretty sure. Here's what I remember. I know somehow Melissa was involved. So I'm going to say, since she's not here, she's in Canada now, that it was Melissa's fault. That's how I remember. Is that how you guys remember it? We were like, it was like a tiebreaker thing. Like, we just missed the tiebreaker, and we missed one question. We were tied for second, and we wound up in third because the other team, we missed a question they didn't, and we missed the tiebreaker question.
Yeah.
I remember you lost it for us. That's all I remember.
Oh, is that you remember it? Oh, you know what it was? Melissa's fault.
Yeah.
See, Melissa, there was a question about which doctor had kissed
Captain
Jack first, and which number. And Melissa wrote down 9. And I was like, are you sure? I didn't think she even met Eccleston. I think it's 10. And because Melissa was not confident enough in her answer, she changed it. So really, it's Melissa's fault.
Everybody knows Captain Jack came in for Eccleston.
That was totally my fault. I totally cost us the victory. And now I forgive Greg for costing us the tiebreaker from the first year we did it.
Oh, man. You really actually did hold on to that.
I held that grudge for a long time.
And it's weird.
No.
You had to leave the city.
I left the state.
With the state.
No, I love that we've done well in the trivia most years. We were like tied
We
for...
rocked it this year.
We tied for second first year, then we were 14th. Then we tied for second place last year, and then we tied for second this year.
Also, I think Trivia Night was the night that we started feeling a little more cautiously optimistic that the people really would think that singing TV themes is fun.
For sure.
Right. Yeah. The Geeks Who Drink people that run the trivia, they were definitely just playing other TV theme songs, and everyone in the audience was singing.
Yeah. I think the Friends theme came on, and the whole room just unprompted clapped at the right part. And I was okay, other people do think that this is fun. Other people do occasionally just sing TV themes.
Yeah. And it was the same room. Yeah. And so we're like, this is going to go
That was the other thing, is realizing at Trivia Night, okay, this is going to be what potentially will be the people on stage in a couple of nights trying to run this room.
Yeah. By the way, just to be clear, I was making a joke. Melissa totally would have had it, and I screwed us all.
I mean, either way, we still would have been second place.
Yeah, we would have got a Southwest Airlines fart wallet.
Fart wallet, yep. Which I'm not going to explain. If you were there, you know what that means.
If you were there, you know what it means.
Well, most of our listeners were not there. But okay, whatever.
I can't possibly explain what that means.
So what else did you do?
So then day 2, I went to the pitch competition, which I always recommend. There were 10 pitches. They pull from a bunch of 100 people that submit pitches for
What
TV.
is a pitch competition?
So
are they pitching tents?
They are not pitching tents. They get a bunch of... They're not pitching baseballs.
Okay.
It's who knows the most about the one-season show Pitch.
Okay.
Oh, you gotta stab me in the heart like that? I miss Pitch.
I thought that's why you went.
I did. I thought it was a pitch panel, and it wasn't.
It's a vigil. You all light candles.
Right now, Randy's pitching a fit.
The pitch competition is a thing I started going to about 3 years ago. They've had it for 7. It is they do a competition where 100 people or 200 people or whatever submit. They winnow it down to the 10 best pitches for a TV show. And those people get to pitch their TV show as if they were in a room. They get a 3-minute pitch with, serious people. There's the HBO programming director, and someone from ABC was there, and a big name producer, people who could make your show happen. You get to pitch your show to them. And everybody gets to pitch their shows, and then the executives go vote. And whoever wins the competition gets a mentor and gets their pitch sort of shepherded. As far as I know, none of these ever become TV shows. But it's definitely a leg up into the industry. And it's really interesting to watch. The pitches were really interesting. One thing I noticed when they brought everybody out, and there was all the people standing on stage, the 12 or 13 people, since some of them were partnered teams, it was a super diverse crowd. It was people of color and women, and there was not a single white dude to be seen anywhere in that panel. And I was pretty impressed with the amount of different voices and different things they heard pitched. The winner this year was something called Hot. I forget what the name of it was. It was about you guys know Hot Felon, the ex-con turned model. You heard of this?
Yes.
Okay. It was loosely based on this ex-con who gets out. There's a manager and modeling agency who picks him up. And it was going to be a sitcom about this guy being a model and being an ex-con, and his ex-gang leader wanted to be in the modeling world and all this kind of stuff. It was a good pitch. My personal favorite was one called Glow Up, which was pitched by a woman who sings in the Broadway cast of Lion King.
Huh.
And it was an Insecure type thing where she was going to do almost a real-life thing about her discovering her black identity and becoming a singer and becoming a success in New York and that kind of thing.
It was called Glub?
Glow Up. Sorry.
Glow
I
Up.
flubbed that.
Okay.
And then end of day 2 was the league reunion, which you went to, Grant, right?
No.
No, that was you and me.
Les went with that.
I did nothing on Friday.
The league reunion was a blast.
Yes, it was. That was hysterically funny. Jason Mantzoukas is a force of nature, and I feel bad for people that try to be on a... Like, you could just see Nick Kroll start to talk and, like, fuck it.
Yeah, but you know who impressed me? Katie Aselton was, like, on it.
Yes.
And the 2 creators of the show, whose
Yes,
name I forgot,
Jackie and Jeff Schaefer.
they were amazing. Like you can see how these people were running a show of all these creative people because they were driving that panel, even with Mantzoukas being crazy and Kroll and Scheer and all those guys. But you could see the chemistry between those guys. They were super funny, telling stories. It made me want to go back and watch the rest of the league. And
yes, I wanted to immediately go. In fact, I went home and rewatched because of the panel, the start of season 2 when they're in Vegas.
Because they told the story, was it Ocho Cinco?
Yeah.
About Ocho Cinco being a little crazy.
Yeah, little nuts, little Twitter happy. Got him kind of raided by security at one point.
Day 3 was my big... I'm just going to keep talking, and you guys jump in when you did things.
I'm going to totally say something that's going to sound like it's going to derail this whole thing. But back to the pitch competition. Side note, I finally watched that Always Sunny pilot and the thing where they showed like how they pitched that show. Have you guys seen that yet?
Nope.
No.
Oh my gosh. If you are interested in that sort of thing, like pitches and stuff, they essentially got some shitty video cameras and just did an episode of Always Sunny in their living room. Like we could do it right now if we wanted to, but like the writing was just as tight as the show was.
Okay.
And they were able to take that crappy little VHS into FX and sell a show.
A few years ago, or last year, year before, Paul Scheer did a pilot thing, and that's basically what his project, like when they want to pitch a pilot, they go shoot like 15 minutes of an hour show, but like watching between one commercial break, and they take that around as like proof of concept, basically.
Well, that's how Letterkenny happened too.
Yes,
right?
and Letterkenny Problems was 5 web videos.
Yeah.
Glenn Howerton said, somebody said, you can't shoot 3 cameras, you can't light that, and we responded, what's lighting?
Day 3 started with Veronica Mars, which Grant went to with me.
Right.
And they showed us, like 3 minutes of the Hulu pilot?
Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
It was great.
They said, okay, we got a little special treat for you guys. And then they lowered the lights, and suddenly it was this really great clip of Veronica Mars and her dad, like, shooting the shit about, like, it back in the office. And I was like, it just kind of feels like the old vibe. And
then her and Logan, which I really like the post-movie relationship between the two of them.
I think I only saw the first season, and I'm like... Wait, that guy? What must have happened in this guy's arc?
There's been a lot of changes to that character.
Okay.
But yeah, I was super, super happy. And then they brought the panel out, which had Enrico Colantani, Jason Dohring, who played Logan, and Percy Daggs, who plays Wallace, and then Rob Thomas, who created the show. Mm-hmm. And
the Matchbox 20 guy?
Nope. And then Sarah Rodman from EW was the moderator, and I've decided after a couple of years, she's my favorite moderator. She's really funny. She clearly loves the TV shows. Like, she does some of the sort of things that I saw some other moderators do where they joke about being fans of the show. Like, they're like obsessed with, tell me more about the show.
Right.
But I've seen moderators do it. The guy who was the moderator for Atypical did it in a way that was kind of obnoxious and kind of like derailed the panel every time he did it.
I bet I knew who that one is.
And Sarah Rodman is really like, she comes out as a genuine, like, she's a fan, but she also knows how to run a show. Like, she's running the panel.
There's been a couple moderators where I'm like, what are you doing?
You can tell the difference between the great moderators and the okay moderators.
You know who I always love is Ben Blacker.
Ben Blacker. Oh man. He's so good.
Like, he has an obvious, like, improv background. He's just fantastic with everyone.
You ever seen the people from the TV show turn on the moderator? Like, just get one too many dumbass questions, and they just that was what we do in the shadows back in the fall. They totally turned on the guy, and just were like, we're gonna do it now.
That's funny.
The Archer panel no longer has a moderator. They said last year they decided that was just redundantly dumb, and that like they would just run their own shit. So now the Archer panel is moderated by the Archer panel.
I don't remember who the moderator was for Atypical. I didn't write the name down. I just wrote, this guy wasn't good.
Oh no.
He was fine. But Sarah Rodman's great at that job. Then we went to the Undone screening.
Right.
Which was funny. We haven't even talked about this off mic. So I don't know how you felt about it, but I have a feeling I know.
Well, we saw Euphoria.
Yeah.
on the very first
Everybody
opening
seems
night.
shell-shocked by that weekend.
It was rough, man. It's like, what if Kids was darker?
Yeah.
Wait, that's Euphoria or Undone?
That's Euphoria.
Yeah, what if
what?
What if Kids had a little bit of Irreversible mixed in? That's what I think.
That's what you described it to.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, this is bleak. I can't.
Bleak.
Just thinking of those two things in the same breath is giving me goosebumps right
Randy
now.
and I have kids.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
I don't want to see this.
I'm going to fuck everything up.
Yeah.
I'm going to fuck it up.
That was not good. But it was good. It was just like
It's really well
Undone
made.
Is Odenkirk animated, right?
Yeah, Odenkirk is
he's
one of
the
the
dad.
characters. He's the dad. The leads are, I've forgotten the characters' names, but they're really good.
Right. The thing is, though, it was another like sad show, which is why I brought up Euphoria.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that's really heavy. And then this one, they're rotoscoping everything in this animation, and so this is going to be a show that's going to be on Amazon. It's an animation by a lot of the creators. The creator of BoJack, one of the lead writers, she's now running it.
Yeah.
And it's this sad story of this girl who is kind of just going through a real rough patch. Well, all of her life is just kind
She
of
clearly has some severe mental illness.
yeah, and she's afraid she might have schizophrenia, which runs in the family. And then after a car crash, she comes a little bit undone. And you watch the first episode, and you're like, why are they doing rotoscoping?
Yeah.
Why are they doing this like heavy animation style when they're not really using animation for any effect? But then the second episode just goes bug nuts.
Yeah, her dead dad starts talking to her. She starts seeing like weird psychedelic rivers and stuff. And it's like he basically tells her, look, you can go back to reality or you can come and like live in Fantasyland sometimes with me. And it's interesting. After the first episode, they showed us the first two.
Right.
And after the first episode, I was like, it's interesting. It's not my thing. After the second one, I really want to see where they go with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it suddenly like opened up from something that's like this melancholy, intimate tale into something that's like got this intriguing mystery / mythology to this world of like, what if you can walk through dreamscapes and interact with the dead? And it's kind of this what's it called? Mysticism element going on there.
Shamanic was what somebody said.
Yeah.
Someone picked up on that from the audience, and I don't know if that's actually was there or if they were just answering a question politely.
It was a plant. No, I don't know.
There were. It's interesting though. Like the executives were in the room, like in the back, and you could tell the creators were sort of nervous, but also sort of playing with them.
Yeah, they're like, give us more money.
Yeah, and my favorite bit was Kate Purdy and Raphael Bob Waksberg were the two people. And at one point, Kate, when she was talking about Raphael, called him BoJack. And he's like, nope, don't like that.
Not a fan of that. Don't do that again. Yeah, it was pretty fantastic.
Then after that, I went to the Breaking the Stigma Mental Health on TV panel, which was really interesting and kind of dark. It was kind of the theme, maybe. There was like the Stephen Falk from You're the Worst, Mike Royce from One Day at a Time, the actress who's one of the ATX TV Fest, Ariel, I forget her last name.
Keble.
Yeah, she talked about her sister went missing.
Oh shit!
And her sister was found, but like basically she has some PTSD, and the character she's playing in this new show, Lincoln, is a character whose sister went missing. And so it was like this weird synchronicity, but she was talking about some of that. And it was very interesting. And then they had the co-showrunner of Haunting of Hill House, so they talked about how they did Nell and sort of all the various mental illness that was in Hill House, and basically they sort of you want to do horror, but you don't want to like say that mental illness is caused by ghosts because that can be disrespectful. And it was all very interesting, and I thought they really addressed this topic really well.
That's one of those other aspects of ATX Fest that I kind of find fascinating when they look at their lineup and they kind of tap into what's going on in the current television zeitgeist, and they focus in on that and kind of put a spotlight there. It's like there's a lot of shows right now that are circling around and outright addressing mental illness and how, or just like social anxiety and how people are kind of dealing with that aspect too.
Yeah,
and I totally get that sense. Like if you look at the exterior aspects of society, like. People are nervous about our leadership. People are nervous about our future and climate change.
I don't know why. Everything seems great. Everything's great, right?
No.
No problems? Everything's great?
Everything is not fine.
Oh, I don't read the news.
Welcome. Everything is not fine.
Yeah. I don't read any news. I don't look at Facebook. Obama's still president, right?
Oh, no. Randy, we got some shitty news to deliver.
You're like Liz Lemon's little brother, man. What the fuck?
God, I would love to be living back in, like, I don't know, 2012, 2013. That sounds great to me. That sounds really good.
Yeah. So, everything's terrible.
Yep.
The world is depressing, and they've tapped into that, and they have a lot of good panels kind of addressing that in television.
I like that if it tells you how focused on great panels the fest is, Meredith Averill was there. She's doing stuff. She's co-show running Hill House, things like that, alongside Mike Flanagan. Like she's working, but she was not there to promote any of her current projects particularly. No. She was there for a set of panels.
Yeah.
And I love that they both play to the strengths of the shows that are going to be there at times, but they also just build great panels and invite people purely for it. Like they're not tacked on at all.
Yeah, the programming is fantastic. And it's not, like you say, it's not just about, I saw a lot of show panels, but I always like the ones that are about different things, like Breaking the Stigma, or the one they did on mental illness. They did one that was called The Female Gaze that I didn't get to, but I think Mariah and Melissa both went to, and hopefully they'll talk about on various shows somewhere. But the other one after that day was Most Likely to Make You Laugh, which was Mark Evan Jackson moderating, where I knew that was going to be great. And he had Darcy Carden, Melissa Fumero, and Lauren Ash from Good Place, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and Superstore.
Right.
Three NBC comedies. And
what was the space that was in?
That was in the State Theater.
That's interesting. I heard there was a big line for it.
It was full.
And like that's a big draw type of panel, I think, with those particular people.
What came to mind as I was watching it is, you remember, and it feels like it was pretty recent, and people probably still do the whole women can't be funny bullshit.
They do.
I've heard you don't hear it as much as you used to, but it definitely used to be a thing.
There's everything on the internet, Grant.
Yeah.
I think that there's probably even porn of that.
But people would always talk about
internet.
There was all this bullshit about how women couldn't be funny, and I looked up at this panel and I'm like, that anyone could have ever said that.
That's the dumbest fucking thing.
It's the dumbest fucking thing you've ever heard of. And that one of the biggest draws in this panel was three hilarious women from three completely different shows. I think is a big victory, and I think it was one of my favorite panels of the fest because they had great chemistry. They were all really funny. At least Darcy Carden and Lauren Ash and possibly Melissa Fumero come from like an improv background. You can tell that. The people who have an improv background are great on panels. And Mark Evan Jackson, who moderates the Good Place podcast, also has an improv background, is a great interviewer, is a great moderator, and it was just a really fun and hilarious panel.
The next day, let's just skip.
No.
There's a karaoke thing that happened.
There was a karaoke thing.
We can go back to that at the end.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll come back to this.
Yeah, I think we'll come back and talk about it.
But the next day, I went to the Good Place panel.
Yep, me too.
The Good Place, the podcast panel. I should be more specific.
The Good Place, the podcast.
They were talking directly about the podcast that Mark Evan Jackson runs,
which I know I've recommended on the show before, but really, really should listen to that podcast.
It's so good.
Yeah.
In fact, we saw him the night before.
Yeah.
Mike and I at least saw him the night before
see him.
out on the patio, and I went up to go say hello to him, and then I was like, hey, I'm really excited to go to your panel, and I listen to your podcast all the time. In fact, like when I was training for this, I trained for this triathlon, and I listened to your podcast nonstop. And he's like, oh, really? For a triathlon? Why would you listen to our show for that? I was like, oh, well, it was just something to like take my mind off of while I'm like at the gym exercising. And I didn't do well, but I don't blame you for that. And he goes, well, I don't blame myself either. I was like, all right. That's. I think every time I have an interaction with a celebrity, I make it weird.
Grant, we need a podcast that's just about your awkward interaction with the celebrities at TV Fest.
I'm still confident that the reason there's less celebrities like walking around just willy-nilly is because of my interaction with everyone that first year. I think they must have gotten complaints about everything I said to every single person.
Look, we've got to shelter people from the unwashed rubes.
I started remembering some of the things I said, and I was like, oh my God.
I didn't get to talk to Mark Evan Jackson. I'm a little sad about that.
I did.
Yeah, you did.
I didn't get to talk to him, but you started talking to him, and then he turned around and he introduced himself to everybody and shook all our hands.
That's really cool.
He's a super nice guy.
That was really nice.
Anyway, he also runs a great podcast. He and Darcy Carden have amazing chemistry together. You can tell they really like each other.
And him and Ben Blacker, the moderator, who runs his own, what's his podcast called?
Thrilling Adventure Hour for a long time, and Mark Evan Jackson was on all but 3 episodes of that. And you could tell those two had a natural chemistry.
Oh, yeah.
When I saw this, I was like, why is there a moderator? Why can't Mark Evan Jackson moderate the panel on his own podcast? That makes no sense. But having seen Ben Blacker and having seen Mark Evan Jackson be like the participant instead, I totally get why they did it, and I think it was an amazing choice.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Non-ATX related, but we'll have an upcoming interview with Mark Gagliardi, who is also on Thrilling Adventure Hour.
Is it not ATX? Didn't you do every interview there is under the sun?
Oh, yeah,
ATX?
no, ATX style. Yeah, we also have Mark Evan Jackson. And Lauren Ash and Melissa Fumero.
And not Darcy Carden, but almost.
Who was the one guy who you didn't get to interview? Who's like now crying his eyes out?
Well, I shot myself in the foot and messed an email chain up and didn't get to talk to Jimmy Simpson and Luis Guzman. But it worked out fine because we got Guzman on stage at karaoke.
Spoilers.
We'll
talk about that later. Same with, we'll talk about that later.
There was also the last question of the Good Place podcast was from a little kid named Lily, who Darcy Carden had clearly met somewhere, like during the fest in the green room. I don't know, and she asked a really smart question. And it was really cool and a really nice little moment, and I think highlights sort of what ATX is all about, which is that like the interactions with the fans are genuine. Like these stars and people who come there, they really love that getting direct feedback from fans.
We saw something like that at the Futurama panel last year, didn't we?
Yeah.
There was, if it had been a Comic-Con, I just don't feel like the guy my age that looked like my kind of nerd would have sat back down and made sure that like an 8-year-old girl got to ask the final question at Futurama last year.
Yeah.
Right. But at ATX Fest it was completely within character for the fest that this guy was like, oh, absolutely not. I am making sure that I don't get the last question. Like if my hand gets picked, it's to point to that. Like and Randy and I were like, that warms my heart. Like that's why this fest rocks.
On the flip side, it is always dangerous to take questions from the audience.
Yes.
And there was the dude who asked Zendaya if she got high and if she wanted to meet him at Amy's for ice cream.
Right.
Oh.
And
those are rare at the fest, thank God.
Yeah, thankfully rare.
They always try and like say, just ask your question. Please don't give us this big weird preamble. And without fail,
everybody gives a preamble.
Oh, there was
a guy at the league that just made a declarative statement, and they moved on. They were like, "Not a question, speed round, moving on."
Yep.
Someone did that at the Good Place, the podcast too. Like this girl just like kept talking, and I was like, "Where are you going with this?"
Yeah.
Like,
I remember early the first couple years,
you have a moderator.
People would be like, so I have a script.
Yeah.
Nope. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah. Do not do that shit.
There's Austin Film Festival for that shit, buddy.
That's why you got to use Slido. It's the thing where you can do the questions from your phone.
Right.
And you can go through and sort out all the shitty ones.
And then there was Atypical, which I love. I just can't remember where everybody stands on this. It's not great. You're not a big fan of Atypical.
I like Atypical.
I've gotten a hand job in an igloo before. That means I'm a super fan.
That's an Atypical reference.
Yeah.
Not just Kyle being weird. And 2 over Sherry.
Very atypical of Kyle.
It was they showed the second season finale, which I had watched, but it's a real sort of like heartwarming, weepy thing, and it was really funny, and that was really great. And then they had several of the cast members. The showrunner did not make it, unfortunately.
No, she was ill.
And the moderator just he got one question in for each of them, and he did a lot of every time he was like, "Tell us about season 3," and they'd already said, "Look, I can't tell you about season 3." And it was like, I think he was trying to be cute, but mostly what he was doing was eating up time. And then there was one question, and it was a mom who was talking about having having a son who was on the spectrum and how she saw himself. And it was very much a declarative statement, but it was one of those things that was good because it's like a nice moment. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it ate up all the question time because the moderator hadn't left enough. Mm-hmm. And I definitely left there feeling like, man, that dude did not run that panel very well. But it was still a good thing to see, and it reminded me how much I like Atypical, and I'm looking forward to more. And then the last panel of the show, which I think most of us were there for. No, was it just me and Les?
Just you and Les, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, no, we had a big
Melissa,
group.
Yeah, Melissa
but it was
was there with
Melissa,
us,
Bill,
and,
Nick Tice was there.
Nick Tice, yeah.
Yeah.
We went and saw Letterkenny.
That was great. They showed the first episode of the upcoming season.
7.
Which I believe is season 7.
Yeah,
7 or 8.
so.
They've been renewed for a crazy stretch.
3 years.
Like 3 years, like 40 episodes or something like that.
Yeah.
So the unchecked job security that they have now is bizarre for a comedy show, and you can tell that they are reveling in it. But yeah, the new episode was really fun, and listening to it with an audience was knowing that Melissa and Bill sitting next to me are from Canada. It was really funny, the moments that would come across where the whole place was silent except for like a little peppering of like Melissa and Bill and I assume the other 5 actual Canadians in the room laughing at a totally different set of jokes.
Yeah, there were a couple Canadians to my right, and they were both laughing at those too.
Like, and I'm like, what the fuck just got said? Like, this is why I watch this with subtitles at home.
You can tell they laugh differently too. They laugh in Canadian.
Hi. Hey. Yeah. I fell in love with Letterkenny right before this festival. I knew it was coming. I had people telling me about it, and so I popped it onto Hulu to watch. And I'm like, holy shit! There's 6 seasons of this. Yeah. So I only got through season 1, but I adore season 1. I've been burning through it.
Letterkenny was the gem of the research this year for me. Of like of all the stuff that I watched before talking to people, Letterkenny was the I have to go watch other shit. I'm supposed to be watching the pilot of whatever, and no, let's watch another Letterkenny.
I heard during this panel they tried to throw out a hat to an 8-year-old.
Yes, they did. And that kid caught it in the face. That kid. Hat.
That's what I love, the spirit of ATX Fest.
Yes.
That Les will beat up a little kid to get a Letterkenny hat.
Exactly right.
But he gave that kid the last question in the panel. I mean,
Yeah,
makes it all
His
better,
question
right?
was, why did that man hit me for a hat? I said, shut up, Billy. Wish you weren't so fucking awkward, bud.
One thing I loved about the Letterkenny panel was how delighted the cast and the showrunners were that everybody knew their show.
Yes.
They were stunned. There's this whole Alamo Drafthouse crowd. The whole place is packed. And they were like, we thought 10 people were going to show up for this. And everybody there loved their show, knew their show, and they were thrilled about it.
They told a story about a couple of them doing not a USO tour, but basically an international military tour. And finding out that each country basically has homesick DVDs that listen to troops with a smattering of different TV shows from your country. And Canada's included a bunch of Letterkenny. And so they got to this military thing, and because you get bored with your country's DVD real quick, you get bored with your DVD real quick and you start trading it, watching Aussie shows and watching New Zealand shows or whatever.
Right.
They showed up to this base and were like, if you've never seen 5,000 drunk troops that all know your show and are really excited to see you, they're like, we were unprepared.
That's so awesome. Now, Les, during this whole thing,
I went to 2 panels.
You went to 2 panels,
4
but
days. So I had a super luxurious. I did just laid around while y'all hustled around for no. So instead, I went to the a la carte side of the fest menu. And so that Atypical panel, if you didn't enjoy that, I interviewed all those people.
Yep.
So all of that cast and the showrunner was ill, or creator was ill. But so we talked to everybody coming up on Infamy season 2, or sorry, the Terror season 2 Infamy. So I talked to George Takei, Alex Wu.
I love how he just rolls past that. Yeah, I talked to legendary George Takei. No big deal.
Everybody's asked me if he sounds exactly like he sounds. I mean, he was actually harder to talk to for me than H. John Benjamin from Archer, who we also spoke with.
So with both of them, quick question, just about behind the scenes of the interview process. Do you find it hard to stay on topic and talk about the new thing and not mention all the previous shit that everybody's thinking
There's
about
a breaking
when you meet somebody like that?
Thankfully, because I was not wearing track uniforms to school in middle school or anything.
What's wrong with that, Les? What's wrong with that?
But kept me from completely fanboying out.
It kept him from getting beat up.
Yes. I did mispronounce his name to him immediately, but he is so gracious that our interview starts with a lovely 5-minute correction, which is done in his voice, so it's fine.
Yeah. It's a polite dressing down.
Oh, it was. He started. Can I correct you? Of course, please dress me down. We talked to all the cast from Greek. I talked to Archer himself and 3 of the people that create Archer.
Yeah.
We talked to, like I said, most of the cast of Atypical. That Veronica Mars panel, you can enjoy our interviews with all the cast and Rob Thomas.
You really did. There's they're going to put all the panels up online on the ATX.
And then there's a second panel of TV dudes for all of this. I'm not joking.
And then
the only people I didn't speak with are Fear the Walking Dead, I think, and Perpetual Grace.
Yeah, Les is basically running. If you miss the fest,
yeah,
you can get
David Makes Man. I spoke to Felicia Rashad and D. Harris Lawrence.
Well, let me get that name for you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Graham Yost. We talked to all the Into the Dark Culture Shock people like Sean Ashmore, Gigi Saul Guerrero, the co-writer and director. Talked to Retta. Talked to Jenna Bands. Good Girls.
Just casually say you talked to Retta.
Yeah.
Like big whoop.
Yep. Talked to some of the writers from Younger. Talked to Katie Aselton from The League. Talked to Stephen Ranazizi. Another name I mispronounced to the person.
I mean, he's got to hear his name mispronounced all the time.
Oh, he did.
Tough
the
shit.
problem was that I
Ranazizi.
asked him, and he walked me through it, and then I said it wrong.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Fucking really, dude?" Talked to Kim Raver from 24 and Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
Laura Chin, who has a new show called Florida Girls coming out. That's going to be great. We talked to the co-presidents of scripted television for NBC.
That's a crazy interview. That
is an amazing interview.
You got to talk to the people who greenlit.
No, like Tracy, like one of the people from this interview is who showed up on a day and went at her job, said, "I think Fox is canceling Brooklyn. We should buy it." Got a binder together, put a meeting together, and that's why Brooklyn Nine-Nine is still on the air.
Why it was canceled for maybe 6 hours?
Yes, is this actual person's day job?
Yeah.
Talk to the similar people, like exact same group of people for Lifetime Television.
Yeah.
All scripted and unscripted television for them, which is How I Met Jamie Denbo, who Randy will know from Terriers.
I do indeed.
It's Los Espuques, which is going to be HBO's new Spanish language show, is great. Talk to some of the cast from that. Let's see, Melissa Fumero, Mark Evan Jackson, Lauren Ash, all the people from Men in Trees from 10 years ago.
Don't worry, Randy. I'm going to fade this out, and we're going to have a voiceover. And so Les went on.
Roswell, New Mexico.
People into the evening.
Les, let me ask you.
The Trimmers pilot folks.
Numerically, how many
39
interviews?
39!
That's insane. Yeah. It was funny because every time I found Les, he'd be in the press lounge waiting for an interview, and there was a text thing going back and forth. He's like, "Just finished interview 18." That was day one.
So, to all
some
of you,
we didn't like. Some of these we weren't supposed to get. We just did well on other interviews, and then I happened to still be standing there.
Yeah,
and you lied about your name a couple times and got Eric Diggins.
I'm Wes Lyler. Hi.
I think it's important to apologize to everyone who subscribed to our RSS feed because it's going to be blowing up for the next month with a billion interviews that we're going to be dropping.
Yeah, apologize for the 40 or so interviews or awesome interviews you're going to get a chance to listen to. Come on. That's amazing content.
And one nice
People
thing that
don't like a bunch of notifications on their phone.
That co-showrunner, Meredith Averill, the co-showrunner from Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah.
She's obviously best known for the single episode of Happy Town she wrote, which I'm covering on Good Die Young. So this fest got me an additional Good Die Young interview with one of the writers. She's going to put me in touch with the rest of the writers' room.
That's
Didn't
awesome.
you also just talk to Amy Acker a couple days ago?
I did. She reached out to the show.
Oh, man. That's so awesome.
That getting to say that she reached out to Good Die Young is one of Chris' moments.
Prepare for the TV Dude spinoff. Kyle, what's it called?
It is called
Let's Talk More Interviews.
Yeah. I want to say it.
Let's Talk More Interviews.
Best name ever.
It's pretty solid. Okay, let's talk a little bit then about the karaoke event that we got to host. So,
another place I got to talk to Mark Evan Jackson. He popped his head in to ask what the hell was going on with our...
Can I do my impression?
Yeah.
Because I was standing right by the door when that happened.
What does he do?
What is this? Karaoke?
With a little bit of disdain. What is this?
And then Kevin Costner was
back out.
So a couple months back, I think that I was shooting the shit with you guys about us maybe throwing ourselves a little party. And I went...
Well, it started with our annual TV Dudes dinner that none of us could go
We
on
couldn't
the same
schedule.
night.
We couldn't find a time when we all could go because we usually do once a year. We'll go out for dinner and we'll catch up on stuff and sort of brainstorm a little about the show and have a nice dinner and hang out together.
Right.
And we could not.
The only time we hang out
time.
outside of this podcast.
Yeah, we could not find a time when all four of us could make it work. So we started talking about throwing a party instead. And somehow
I pitched an idea of like, what if we did a karaoke party, kind of like we did at Halloween at Kyle's house, because it went pretty well. We all sang TV theme songs at a karaoke party, and so I was like, what if we just try to do our own little like side thing during ATX Fest? But as it happens, Caitlin and Emily from ATX Fest record here at my studio. And
I'm sorry, what studio is that?
Permanent Record Studios.
Permanent Record.
Oh, man. And, since they record here, I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just, like, ask them, like, what days they have, like, on the schedule. So we're not stepping on toes.
As I remember it, the initial discussion was like, do we want to have our own little karaoke get-together with some of our friends and stuff? Let's make sure that we don't schedule it against like the most popular night on their thing. And like I feel like our initial ask of the fest was like, we just don't want to cross schedule against you.
Right. I was like, I would love for the opportunity to be able to host a party, a little karaoke thing, and maybe invite a lot of the people that are attending the fest. But respect to them heading the fest, I don't want to step on any toes.
Right.
So I thought I'd reach out. And I'd also be like, well, unless you guys wanted to also like collaborate. And they're like, yeah, let's collaborate.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, oh my God, cool.
And that's how, like, at one week I came in here and suddenly we were doing the closing night party for ATX TV Fest.
By the second in-person meeting, I think we were the Saturday night slot on the schedule. And like Grant and I just kind of had to keep looking at each other sideways in a meeting of like, so we're in the ballroom. That's up to 200 people.
Yeah.
So
this is a little more than the 30 people we were thinking, right?
Okay, cool. We were just hoping to get a downtown venue so people didn't have to drive to Midtown, to get to our thing.
But we can't thank them enough. Thank you,
gosh.
to Caitlin, to Emily, to Laura for just like trusting us to.
That was
to
so
take this.
fun to get to do. Like I know it was a lot of work building up to it, and everything I did was half of what Grant did. Like you were doing so much shit. The coloring pages.
The boxes
alone.
The boxes on the table were so good.
The boxes were great. The centerpieces of the table.
It was a little bit stressful.
The name tags, which,
but I think it's just that I don't handle stress very well.
Also, by the way, Suzanne, who was our liaison there,
yes, with the rockin' coat,
she was great. Yeah, she had the shiny coat, and I feel bad because she got looped into the group sing and didn't hear her name called, so she missed half her song, and I feel a little bad about that. But she was fantastic,
and her volunteers
she probably
were
just
fantastic.
should have had her song to herself.
We were running low on
We
time.
should have bumped that other dude.
You mean the dude who started singing? They got up there halfway through and started singing to the one mic, even though there was another mic there.
Yeah,
I had to get up there and push the dude onto the other mic.
So it all went well.
It all went well. It all went well.
Let's talk about the singing for a second, because I had a funny little interaction. Does everybody remember the gentleman who I hope is not listening right now who sang Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Oh, I remember.
He a very memorable rendition of that with a huge group singing.
It's hard to be off rhythm of a rap song when the room is on rhythm.
Yeah, yeah. But it's possible.
It's possible.
There were these two girls who were very clever, and I give them props. They both came up, each of them signed up for a song, and then they duetted each other's songs. So if you were watching, it looked like these two girls got two songs back to back.
Yeah.
And he came up to me and he was like, why the hell did they get two songs? I wanted two songs.
Yeah. That dude seemed a little salty. Old Gil was not happy.
As much as I would have loved to see that.
But yeah, overall, it was just really heartwarming to see all these people pour in. They seemed excited about these little Price is Right name tags that we made for them, because late into the we kind of pitched this late after they had probably planned out most of the fest.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And then we kind of had the idea, like, what if we also had this be a costume party? But it was too late to announce that and try and have other people have costumes. So we just instead wrote a little suggestion like, hey, we're going to dress up. If you guys are wanting to, you're welcome to. I don't think anyone.
No one else did.
I don't think anyone saw that.
Yeah,
a lot of people are. A lot of people are in from downtown. It's hard to bring a costume with you.
Right.
Yeah.
But people do
I was
it.
amazed people really did write crazy-ass characters on their name tags.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I still don't know who Scrooge McDuck was, but that dude rocked the DuckTales theme.
Oh, Moises. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do know that.
I know that dude
rock.
from around town. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was cool because put out those name badges and everyone was able to write their favorite TV characters, and so in a way they were like dressed up as Miss Chenandler Bong or Veronica Mars or whoever they wrote on their name, their Price is Right name tag.
Yep.
And then like seeing people were actually like engaging in like coloring the little coloring pictures that we made at all the tables, and when we passed out, okay, we'll talk about that. We passed out some. What do you call them?
Glow sticks.
Glow sticks.
Yes.
And then we also
And we passed out lyric sheets.
Do you realize the idiocy of what we did?
I did in the moment.
We passed out lyric sheets to everyone,
Then they couldn't read
and
it.
then we turned off the lights so no one could read it. It was like, why did we do that? But we turned off the lights and had everyone hold these glow sticks so that we could all sing. I think this was your idea, right, Les?
No, it was Melissa Giramonti's idea.
Oh, was it? Oh, man, such a great idea.
To sing Bye Bye Little Sebastian.
yeah,
5,000 candles in the wind.
5,000 candles in the wind.
It's cooler than 1,000 candles in the wind.
5,000.
And yeah, you need to write something like Candles in the Wind, but 5,000 times better. I think I can do that.
Yeah.
It's so perfect.
The whole ballroom singing along, swinging. That was really cool.
Well, and so that's when I had just interviewed the NBC folks like 3 hours prior to karaoke. This was my last interview on Saturday prior to karaoke. So I had just talked to Mark Evan Jackson.
Yeah.
And then we did karaoke and everything. Well, we do the Bye Bye Little Sebastian thing. The doors are shut. It's at that time of the evening, the rest of the foyer and stuff of the Stephen F. Austin Hotel was empty and kind of echoey and quiet and settled down for the evening. And Mark Evan Jackson said he came up the stairs and could faintly hear roughly 100-something people singing Bye Bye Little Sebastian and said he crept up the stairs and it got louder and he walked over to the SFA ballroom and was like, what in the fuck? And said he cautiously opened the door, and that's when Kyle saw him peek his head in of like, what is going on here?
What is this?
Yeah.
Karaoke?
And yeah, that's so thankfully, because I'd done a million interviews at this point in my day, it was just like, oh, hello, celebrity. And I walked over and was like, hey, Mark, this is our event. You just met me like 3 hours ago. Yeah. Is it karaoke? What's the list like? Like, well, there's no list, Mark, if you want to sing.
The list is like,
if you want to sing, you are on stage. Yeah. We'll make that happen. So he was meeting people over at the bar, and so we got a like, well, if we think of a song, we'll come back over. Yeah. Same, saw Denbo as well, Jamie Denbo, walking outside, and she said, I think somebody just sang the Family Ties theme, and that was literally, she looked like, has somebody sang Family Ties? Damn it. Yes, someone again. Literally just did.
You can sing it again.
I don't care if you want. So we suspended all rules when Luis Guzman came in.
Yeah,
that was weird for me because I left the room. I went across to the bar, and then I walk back in, and it was like the brakes had got pumped on the party. And I look up on stage, and there seems to be confusion. There's kind of people standing.
There are three versions.
And I went,
versions of the song.
What's going on? Why is he yelling at our KJ? and there seems to be like, no, that's not the right song. I don't want the Cardi B version of this song. Yeah. He wanted I like it like that.
But there are three mixes of I like it like that. And so like even when we got off the Cardi B I Like It song and on to I Like It Like That, he didn't like the version, but he didn't know the musician who did the particular version he wanted.
Yeah.
And so it took like 3 tries to find it. We'll know next year how to handle that better, but it still worked out great. Guzman walked in with his like 8-person crew, and I got to talking to his people, and they were like, well, we'll do I Like It Like That because you can't, how do you Guzman was like, we're like a choir, but you can't fuck that one up in karaoke. There's no lyrics. and so we called the Luis Guzman choir up onto stage, and then we figured out the song finally. He had the whole room crush forward and dance and sing, and it was absolutely nuts.
It was a bumpy ride to get there, but as an experience, very memorable.
I was so stressed and like horrified when I walked in. I was like, "What the fuck?"
You seemed overly stressed, and I'm like, "Dude, it's Luis Guzman. What's going on?" And now I realize you hadn't seen the prelude to it.
No, I had no idea what was going on. I just knew he was up on stage, and no one could find whatever song he wanted, and he was like,
"It was tense for a second, but it went great.
What is this?" And I'm like, "Oh
it was
my
tense
God.
for a moment. We weren't fine. Yeah, it went fine.
It was fine.
I don't know their names, but there were two people sitting at a table when Guzman's people came in. Simi, I believe is the name of the guy that was with it, was like, "Hey, is there a table we can sit at?" Like, if y'all want to stay, yes, I will find you chairs to stay. If you don't want to just hover in the door,
You're like,
yes.
"Get out of the seat, plebeians."
But all I could think was like, I can't just maitre d' snap my fingers and have them roll a table in. Like, I'm looking around for building staff or anybody, and I go walking through the crowd, and there's two people sitting at a table with like 7 empty chairs around it.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, is anybody sitting in these chairs?" And then, "No, you can take the chairs if you need the chairs. It's fine." I was like, No, you misunderstand.
You're about to be sitting.
Let me fill these chairs with the guy from Perpetual Grace Limited.
You got your new best friend, Luis Guzman.
So I walked through, like, these people seem nice. Their crew seems nice. Here, all sit together. Yeah. So I hope I made somebody's fest. I really hope that I like perked up somebody's Saturday.
Yeah,
I think our karaoke should be very special for those two people. I don't know how the rest of people felt about it, but I think those two people at that table got a good event.
On the fly, I heard at least 3 or 4 people asking, "How have we not done the Friends theme?" Nobody requested the Friends theme. So
I heard someone try and say like, "Oh, you guys didn't have it on the list." Someone told me that,
It was definitely-
and I went and looked back and looked. It's totally on there because at first
It's
I was
not
like,
called
"Did we
Friends
miss it?"
theme.
No, it's just
It says
called
Friends.
"I'll Be There for You."
Yeah, but-
I'll be there.
Yeah. But so we slipped that in as our second to last song, and we said, "Everybody come up and sing if you want." And there were like 30 people on stage.
I was genuinely afraid we were about to break that stage.
I thought it was buckling because everyone was jumping to that song, and I was like,
I was like, "Please stop jumping. You're all going to hit on the same."
I thought if that stage breaks, it's gonna be funny.
It's like,
I was at that point. I was so exhausted. My head wasn't even at that place. I'm glad it wasn't.
Have you guys ever been in a second floor ballroom when it's full of people dancing? Because those
This is
buildings,
going to get real specific, isn't it, Kyle?
those buildings are actually designed. The floor will flex and bounce. So that's what it feels like when you are at like a dance or an event on the second floor in a big room like that.
But that stage on that stage.
This was different. Those people at the table, they were coloring. They weren't jumping.
But the coordinated clapping was great. It was a lot of fun. And then we closed out with "Don't
Journey.
Stop Believin'."
Ooh, and we had a debate about this.
Yeah, because there a whole table signed up for "Don't Stop Believin'," and I told the girl who was signing up for them, I'm like, "Look, we're doing the Sopranos cut. It's going to cut at Don't Stop. I'm telling you, tell your table." Don't tell anybody else.
I wish you hadn't even told them.
I know. You didn't want me to tell anybody.
Because I feel like we made the right
no
call
one.
backing out of that and not doing it.
And then we decided not to do it, and I absolutely think we made the right call.
I
because
don't
people would have been
know.
So mad.
I think it would have irritated the whole room, and it would have left it on a weird, sour note, just like The Sopranos. And then we'd have had, but I don't have the money to go into hiding in Europe for a year.
Me neither.
Here's the thing, though. Learning moment. Next year, we do the Sopranos cut, but then we have one more song after that. Like, we do the fake out, and then everybody, cool.
Here's the thing. I think you guys learned the wrong lesson from the Sopranos finale. The lesson is people don't like that shit.
I loved it. Okay, that's where we come down on it. I love the Sopranos finale.
Oh, fuck that finale.
I didn't love
it's
it when I was
brilliant.
watching it. I thought my TV
I don't
broke.
mind it as a TV finale, but I thought it would have irritated and left the end of our event on a weird note.
Okay. Ultimately, everyone was happy with it running its full course.
Yeah.
We gave out some prizes. I think we could figure out a better way
Yeah, we
to
got to get better at raffling.
manage that. I think like people were either had a hard time like finding their ticket or hearing what the numbers were, and that part didn't feel as cohesive to the rest of it. But otherwise, I think there was a lot of really special moments to be had from this.
I thought it was great.
The girl who did Martin. Mm-hmm. Oh, that was one of my favorites.
Living Single.
Living Single.
Oh, yeah.
Living Single. Yeah, that was really good. And yeah, it was like we saw a bunch of people like really have a good time, and it felt like the spirit of ATX Fest.
Yeah.
That people come not only to sing their own songs, but to join other people and like support other people that were up on stage doing it. There's a lot of love and warmth in it, and I liked that.
Yeah, like when the guy was off rhythm on Fresh Prince, the room was not against him. Like the room was desperately
They were
trying
like,
to help him.
get on.
So like it's a spirit. Yeah,
he was having a good time. didn't matter that he was completely off. Like, that's part of what karaoke is.
That's the best part of karaoke. When someone butchers a song, I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm here for.
I was waiting for that too.
As a proof of concept of is this quote unquote ATX Television Fest, I feel like it really worked. Everything I want different next year is just streamlining. Like, structurally, this felt of a piece with the rest of the fest, and I really hope everybody had a great time.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think in the moment, Grant and I were both in the mild panic, like, oh my God, I don't know about all this, but I think overall...
I don't think it could have come off any better.
Me panic?
You and I both were in the, I don't know about all this.
Having never never done it before, I don't think it could. Everything that we ran into, I just don't know how we could have avoided. I know that we went down discussion tracks of like the 3 or 4 different ways, like, that it could have gone, and it went, one of them.
Yeah.
So the big question... You think we're going to get asked back?
I hope to God.
I don't know. I mentioned to Emily and Caitlin the next day. I'm like, by the way, if you guys want to do it, we want to do it.
I hope so.
Oh. Yeah, we'll find out. Let's not speculate.
Let's speculate.
That's what you do when you like TV. You go, this is what's going to happen.
Next year we're going to do karaoke live on stage at the opening premiere.
You're making me so anxious again.
I can't wait for next season. I got to know now.
Yeah, when they premiere
every panel's going to end with a karaoke song, Grant.
When they premiere HBO's opening night show of the Game of Thrones prequel, we're going to get up and sing the Game of Thrones song with everybody in the audience, right? That's what can happen next year.
Yeah, maybe. I don't. Maybe.
I'll settle for just getting to do it again.
That is one idea that I was kind of sad to see the cutting room floor, but it would have been impossible to do. But the making up lyrics to instrumental TV themes,
it would have been impossible.
My Magnum PI lyrics are fantastic.
We have a year. We have a year, gentlemen.
What ultimately happened was, I think I pitched about like 18 different unnecessary ideas, and then we had to do a great culling. Yeah, we had to be like, we don't need all this. We need to streamline and focus on what's actually important. There was a moment where you were like,
everyone. I don't think we should do the coloring pages, and I had to stop from just screws. Like, no, that's the best idea.
Yeah, the coloring pages were great. People loved this.
Everybody I sent those images to flipped out, and I was like, you have to print them. We have to have them there. And then when they had coloring books just around in the badge holder lounge. Yep. For everybody, I was like, we have hit the zeitgeist here.
Yeah, I guess it worked out.
By the way, the badge holder lounge this year was the first year it hasn't been Hulu's badge holder lounge. It was actually, they curated it, and it was great. I went up there for the happy hour that had like churros and nachos and puppies. Like,
not all at the same table.
No. But very close to
you can't have
puppies.
dogs.
That was that
puppies.
beer you got, right?
Mm-hmm. Puppers.
Puppers.
Oh, puppers.
Yeah.
Sorry, my confusion.
It was another great year, and the karaoke was the cherry on top.
Yeah, so overall, what do you guys think? Is this an okay fest? Are we done with
it? This is my,
It occurred to me that next year's year 9, which means we're coming up on year 10, and I got to assume that's going to be something big and special.
Yeah, 2 years from now?
Yep.
In 2021?
2021.
Dun dun.
In the future.
In the year 2025, if mankind's still alive.
We won't be. So,
So 3 years ago, I think I did 4 interviews.
Yeah.
Last year, I did like 18 interviews.
Yep.
So in
exponentially,
10-year,
you have to do 150 interviews in the 2020.
Archer, so it'll be like Krieger. We'll need clones of me. And I'll do.
My interviews have been tapering off. I did like 8 or 10, and then I did 4, and then I did 2, and then I did none because Les had it covered.
I really enjoy doing these.
All right, folks. That was our overall review of ATX Season 8. It was a lot of fun, and we hope you guys make it out next year to join us.
Come for Season 9. You will not be disappointed.
Yes. In fact, Nick Tice from UGO Podcast was down and ran the lights at karaoke.
Yeah, just ran the lights,
in his Raylan Givens costume, purely because ATX is so fun that I texted him, man, you can crash on my couch. You should come to Austin for this.
I'm so glad Nick came. It was so good to see him.
Speaking of that, so Saturday night, I gave Nick a ride back to your place, and you know what I found out? You are 2 minutes away from my new house.
Oh, shit.
Literally, I could probably ride my bike to your house. That's how closely we live to each other.
See, this is what happens when you don't talk to each other outside the podcast.
Well, what's funny is I've picked you up before, but I've never gone to your house since we've been at our new house. Mm-hmm. So I didn't realize how close you were to South Park Meadows. Because, we're like right on top of
the other day when you were like, I was at South, like, man, I could throw a rock and hit that.
Yeah, no, we live right next to each other.
By the way, also, really
don't
always
stalk
great to see Melissa Garamonte, who does FemTV and is part of the Electric Sweater Network. And Bill, yes.
Electric Sweater.
I had a great time. I had a great time seeing them, going to Gus's with them, hanging out, talking TV.
Yeah, it's just really great.
We were trying to get Melissa on our post show, Melissa and Nick both on our post show, but we just couldn't make the timing work.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
We'll get them next time.
But man, what a great show. I'm still floating from it.
All right, guys. We'll be back next week. We're going to do a mid-year check-in.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about some of the biggest shows that have come out so far this year. I think it'll be a fun one. So I hope you guys stick around, and we'll see you next week. But until then,
TV Dudes out!
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener-supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @TVDudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.